Can mess up some stuff. I can really mess up
You
some
and Anna
stuff.
Barrett's kid, you got the whole thing.
Okay, now.
At least he was playing
Good evening, everyone. I would like to call this month's Board of Education meeting to order. I also would like to thank those persons that are present, you that are in the audience, and those of you that are watching on TV for giving your time to us. At this time, we will have a moment of silence and pledge allegiance by Ms. Mary Blunt Williams. She will lead us into the Pledge of Allegiance, and followed by a moment of silence.
Everyone please stand.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
Yes, ma'am, we just do.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm moving fast. Okay, go ahead. Moment of silence first. I'm sorry.
Join us in a moment of silence, please. This evening, we come before you, Father, to ask for your grace and your mercy. We ask that you watch over all of us as we make decisions concerning the best of us and the brightest of us, which are our children. We also ask that you watch over the families that has just recently been affected by Hurricane Florence. Lord, we want more clear days like this right here so that they can be able to clean their houses and dry their lives out and to get things moving forward. We ask that you watch over the teachers and administrators and the ones that are responsible in any type of way that can deal with the emotional issues that parents and students are going through at this time. And all things we ask in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for that beautiful prayer, Mrs. Williams. Now we will have an adjustment to the agenda. Are there any adjustments to tonight's agenda?
Motion that we approve. As-
Okay, hearing,
We gotta
Add something? Gotta add.
you would add something, okay?
So-
Dad, Karen. Karen from the work session.
yeah, Karen
Okay.
from the work session.
Okay.
needs to add, and trying to figure out
Okay,
where you wanna put
it's
it.
two things. We can put it
4C.
4C.
Okay.
We're going to be adding Karen Harrington, Director of Student Services, to discuss trauma-informed practices with us. And also, we will add the board training updates at the end. And that's 4C.
I'll second the motion.
Yes, it's been moved by,
The two items.
okay.
4C and 4D.
Okay, all in favor of the motion? Raise your right hands. Okay. No opposes. Okay, moving right along. Okay, now spotlight on teaching and learning. We will have our new PIO officer, Jennifer Johnson, to come before us and share some good news tonight, and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm very excited to be here. I have the best job, I think, tonight to spotlight some of the amazing things and awesome things that are going on in Pitt County Schools. So the first that we have on our agenda is Elmhurst Media Center, and I'd like to welcome Colleen Burt and Lydia O'Rear. Colleen is the principal, and Ms. O'Rear is the media coordinator, to share their good news about a media grant that they received.
Thank you, Jennifer. Just want to thank you all for having us here tonight. We're very honored to be in front of you and share some great news. I'm Colleen Burt, the principal, and behind me is Lydia O'Rear, our media coordinator at Elmhurst. She's been there, I think this is her 26th year. So this project is very near and dear to her heart. And I don't want to take any credit, because without Miss O'Rear's vision for a brand new media center at Elmhurst, it would never have come true. It was under her leadership and her dedication to see this project, which took almost a year to complete. So tonight we're going to share with you some amazing pictures and hope that you'll come and join us and see our new media center in person. So I'll have Ms. O'Rear come up and tell you about it.
Thank you. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What started as a vision ended in a reality. When the idea to transform the media center came into my mind, I knew I wanted a larger space to allow for more versatility and movement. I also knew that having a computer lab in the media center wasn't ideal for lab classes or for use of the space. Mrs. Burt agreed and found a way to have our lab moved from the media center to a classroom. It turned out to be a win-win. With the guidance of Joanna Gerakis, I applied for the Perkins, Wells, and West grants in January. I got word in February that we were going to receive $45,000 from the West Foundation. We were also excited and began working on the next phase. This is the before. The computer lab was crowded for students and staff and was not an ideal learning space for the lab or the media center. The old furniture was bulky and not mobile. During the planning phase, Joanna and I visited other schools for ideas, met multiple times with the furniture sales rep, and with Pitt County Schools Facility Services. Everything needed to line up. We had to stay within our budget that we had and work with things such as wiring in an old building. The finish was well worth the time and energy that was put into making it happen. With new paint and all new furniture, the Elmhurst Media Center is totally transformed. Furniture can now be changed around in different arrangements easily due to it being mobile and light. Here you see a makerspace or small group teaching area with a whiteboard learning wall and mobile tables and chairs, enough to work more comfortably and have large group meetings and trainings. We have various work areas now. Before it was basically two, the library and the lab. There is also leisure seating and a story area. New shelving was installed to better fit our space. There is a new circulation desk, which part of that is also mobile. And that is the end of this. Thank you for letting us come and share. And we do invite you to come by and visit. And as we're stopping and going out, we have a slideshow of just some different pictures that you can look while we're transitioning. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
That's okay.
No, I just, yeah. Sorry. There was a slideshow I was clicking on. Oh, sure.
Is that it? Yep. Yes. It's just not up there. It's not on the TV.
I know, I'm trying to get them. It's Tim. Mr. DeCreasy. Thank you.
We good? Okay.
This movie.
Make it louder.
It's not working.
And this is quite a long slideshow, so the ladies are, just wanted you to see a few pictures. And so. You can come in person. There we go.
Use it for training.
Yes.
It's a never-ending slide.
There we go. Got it.
Ms. O'Rear, can I call you up here, please? It is my honor to represent on behalf of the Board of Education our sincerest thanks for all the work you've done. Having had a daughter, and know your son went there, and it's just amazing that you've been able to do this. And thanks much to the West Foundation. Most brand new schools start out looking like that. Their libraries are equipped with the newest and most complete sets of books, and modern furniture that you can move around, and it's a challenge when your school's built in 1955. In the 1950s. It's a big challenge, it's a daunting challenge to do that, and the West Foundation doesn't fund a whole lot all at once. It's a gradual process, and I really commend you for putting forward the effort and having the vision and the perseverance and frankly the creativity to pull it all together. So here is a token of our appreciation on behalf of the Board of Education. Thank you for creating excellence in the East.
Thank you.
You'll take a look right here.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Okay, next we will have PCC Hurricane Relief Effort. Jennifer will also present that.
Okay. Well, as you know, Hurricane Florence, we talked about some in the work session about Hurricane Florence and the response of Pitt County Schools, but we wanted to highlight, because this is one of the worst storms that we've had in our area, we've also had a great response, and as we've been responding to our schools and our communities and working through this, what we've really witnessed is a tremendous spirit of unity in our schools, and a spirit of and a heart for our other communities that have been devastated. And so we wanted just to highlight some of those efforts that Pitt County Schools students and groups and administrators have reached out and have done for our community and for communities outside as well. So for hurricane relief here, what we did was here we go. I did. There we go. So for our community response here, again, we wanted to thank and commend our emergency management, first responders, our law enforcement, NCDOT, utilities, the Red Cross, the National Guard, all of those for their efforts in helping during the storm and before the storm as well. So our community responded in great stride. Also, post-storm recovery, our ECU campus police responded with school supplies. Grifton Mission, you can see a picture there of just a simple sign, food and water is here for that area. Wake Forest University is far there and further, but they were able to donate clothing and food. Some churches with backpack meals. The Church Outreach Network provided 40 boxes of food. Pew's Tires did food and supplies. The Red Cross and their shelters. The National Guard, which came in, as you can see in a picture on the bottom right there, of Meeting, the shelter running out of food, and they came quickly to the rescue there. So we want to thank the community and their response. And I'm sure this is not an exhaustive list, but we want to thank those community. Pitt County Schools also, we witnessed them helping each other as well. And so we do want to commend, as we talked about in the work session, the operations and facilities, transportation, child nutrition, the shelters and those that work the shelters, the nurses, social workers, counselors, and all of the administrative and staff at the schools for responding as they did. Some specific efforts for two of the high schools that serve some of our most affected communities with Grimesland and Grifton. We had clubs doing food and hygiene. We had the PTSA and Kiwanis group have a pancake meal. Athletics did cleanup and gate collections. And so D.H. Conley was in their efforts there was tremendous. Aiden Grifton as well, responding to the Grifton community, offered showers during the or after the storm, and their laundry facilities. They have, we're a high school, we have laundry and showers here. Please come and use them if you need them, and helped out individuals as well. Our FCA there did a uniform drive. They're currently having a grade level challenge. Some other schools that responded as well. Wintergreen Intermediate reached out to the Grifton community with uniforms, as well as Aiden Middle School. Farmville Middle School, a hygiene drive. A few thousand hits have been on the Carolina Strong song that a teacher, Mr. Ken Smith from HB Sugg, created a song using lyrics and response. You can find that on YouTube. Hope Middle School is helping with the Restock the Refrigerator participation, and just want to commend the many administrators and staff members who worked with not only their students who were displaced, but also their staff members who may have been displaced as well, even if they didn't work in a school that was affected. Our county is also responsible for reaching out or wanted to reach out to other communities as well, so we wanted to highlight knowing that we were spared a lot of the disaster. We certainly did get our fair share, but we have some other counties around us that are faced with many more challenges. And so just to highlight a few, Welcome Middle School is helping out Lenoir County. Our Innovation Early College is partnering with Craven Early College Disaster Relief Fund. So we've got 2 early colleges assisting there or together adopting. Falkland Elementary is working with the Trinity Free Will Baptist to help New Bern. We've got South Central High School helping those who are displaced all over Eastern North Carolina. Shakad is assisting in Craven County. Pitt County Schools will soon be partnering with the NC FAST, which is the Florence Aid for Students and Teachers developed by NCDPI. So those efforts will be forthcoming as well. And we've even been in talks about, we've provided lots of things or are providing things, but we want to see if there are other areas that also need physical labor. So we've talked about work days and other things as well. So we just, again, wanted to thank everyone that was involved for the hurricane relief efforts and just appreciate that for our community. Next on our highlights section is, I'm going to introduce you to Principal Monica Jacobson and Kirby Manis. She's going to recognize Kirby Manis for receiving the National Certified Athletic Administrator certification. You guys can come on in.
Thank you. Good evening, board members, Dr. Linker, senior staff, and guests. Thank you for the opportunity to recognize Mr. Kirby Manis. We know him as Coach Manis this evening for his recent designation as a Certified Athletic Administrator by the National Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association. That's a lot to say. The organization shared that this distinction is only earned by athletic administrators that have exhibited the highest level of knowledge and expertise in their field. This is a voluntary certification that requires a thorough evaluation of the candidate's educational background, their experience, and professional contributions, as well as a rigorous, comprehensive written examination. Just a little side note, I had no idea that Coach Manis was seeking this distinction, and I honestly do not know where he found the time to do so, as it included traveling to Winston-Salem, Asheville, Greensboro, just to name a few places, so he could complete his coursework while also managing our 35 athletic teams we have at Rose and teaching American history. But his hard work is not something that he shies away from. Coach Manis is entering his 12th year in education with his 3rd year in Pitt County. And not only has he served as our athletic director, but also as our assistant boys basketball coach. He's also had previous experience coaching baseball, football, and track. And during his time as a girls basketball coach, he was named the Conference and District 1 Girls Basketball Coach of the Year for 2 years in a row. As shared, the educational background of the candidate is also considered for this distinction, and so I don't want to leave out that Coach Manis also holds 2 master's degrees, and he was school and district teacher of the year in his previous county. One of those master's degrees is actually in school administration, and Coach Manis has recently transitioned into the role of assistant principal at J.H. Rose High School. And oddly enough, I received the press release about this wonderful honor on his last day of teaching, which was September the 14th. And so I would just like everybody to join me in congratulating Coach Manis in his designation as a certified athletic administrator.
No, you good.
Thank you, Coach. I dare not try to go through all of what was just been said by Monica, but I did somewhere about 2 o'clock or 2:30, went through the certification that this gentleman had to go through before he could put that certified on his name, and it was a bunch of stuff. But it was nothing what Monica has just expressed to you. And the board, I'm sure, and I know myself, want to say thank you, because this is a product of Pitt County Schools. And I'm glad of it, because that's what we need to highlight Pitt County Schools. So thank you again. I want to read it. It says, the Pitt County Board of Education proudly recognized Kirby Manus for creating excellence in the East. And that's open of that, and a little pen to go along with it. Monica, do you want to be in this?
Yes, go right ahead.
Really good, okay.
The other side.
Thank you.
We have some great spotlights tonight. The next one is, I'd like to invite Ron Butler, and I believe I saw Principal Don Marr in the building as well, and Rob Maloney. So Rob Maloney received the Distinguished Service Award, and we'll let Ron Butler tell you a little bit more about that.
Good evening, board members, superintendent, and guests. I enjoyed looking at the pictures of Elmhurst. It looks just like it did when I went there in 1967. Not truthfully, I was in a mobile unit, so this whole crowd is not new. You're not the first board to deal with. Congratulations, Kirby Manus, well-deserved. We've got two athletic directors here, and they both are in ties, which you don't see a whole lot with athletic directors. I think being an athletic director is probably one of the hardest jobs there is in education. I think they work more hours. I mean, most of us think we're working late tonight. Probably their spouses, Shannon and Elena, think they got the afternoon off if they go home from here. And I hope they do, but maybe not. I do want to thank Kirby and Monica for one thing. 10 years ago, we had a tragedy and we lost a young man on one of our football fields. It's been in September, was exactly 10 months ago. We had planned the celebration in the middle of the month, but we got postponed. So we celebrated Friday night, or we memorialized, and we invited Jaquan's parents. His mom and dad and a lot of family members showed up, and had a moment of silence honoring Jaquan, and everybody on the Rose High football team was wearing a decal with the green ribbon, which is traumatic brain injury color, and Jaquan's name was in it. And this week we hope to get it out to all our teams, so all our teams in Pitt County can do that. And the reason I bring that up to you is I appreciate what you do and your support. The things that have changed in 10 years are phenomenal. And as our two athletic directors can attest, they haven't changed everywhere, but they have changed here, and that's due to your support and the support of the superintendent, so thank you for that. The reason I'm here, last Wednesday, the High School Athletic Association, we hosted the Region 1 meeting. The most prestigious honor passed out and presented that is the Charlie Adams Distinguished Service Award. Some of the criteria for this award: one, you've got to be active. You cannot be retired. And you've got to have at least 10 years of service. I think, Rob, you made that one, barely. I picked on Rob. I thought you had to have gray hair to get this award. You can have no hair as well. So that's good. But if I can tell on Rob a little bit, I congratulate him right afterwards. He was in the lunch line, and he kind of choked up a little bit, and he said, "You know, Ron, any award named after Charlie." We both had the good fortune to work for many years with Charlie, and if you want to talk about distinguished service, Charlie directed the High School Athletic Association from 1984 to 2010. He's the only person in North Carolina. He was the president of the National Federation in the late 90s. And he had a lot of integrity, and to have an award named after him is phenomenal and very prestigious and deserving. So now the question is, why did Rob get this award? As I said, he's made the 10-year criteria. As a matter of fact, Rob's been serving the students and athletes for 25 years. 18 years as the head basketball coach, 12 years as athletic director. He's been the conference president of the East Carolina 3A, 4A since 2016. Are you crazy? He represents us, Region 1, as a member on the North Carolina Coaches Association Board of Directors. He currently serves on the North Carolina ADs Association Mentoring Committee. He earned the North Carolina Athletic Directors Association District Honors in 2016. And this is new that many of you probably haven't heard that. He was recently selected as the head coach of the North Carolina All-Star team, which will compete against South Carolina. That's quite an honor. Congratulations for that. He earned his Certified Athletic Administration designation in 2016, and he has served as the North Carolina Basketball Coaches Association president in 2012. Present to you, well-deserving recipient, Rob Maloney.
As Ron said, I'm completely honored to be even mentioned with the name Charlie Adams. It blows me away, to be quite honest with you, but I will say this. You know, there's an old saying, you are the company you keep. And I think this award is exactly that, because I have been very, very blessed to have unbelievable mentors through the years, unbelievable administrators, as Mr. Marr right here behind me. As Kirby knows, with other administrators, athletic administrators within our conference, you know, everybody thinks because we're at rival schools, we you know, want to get after each other, and they're some of my best friends. And then our teaching staff, and most of all the student body at D.H. Conley High School throughout my time there. 25 years, I've seen an awful lot. But this is completely more a product of all those folks and the influence that they've had on my life, more so than it is me on them. So I'm very honored. I appreciate the opportunity to come here tonight, and very pleased to be here.
And Rob, I would just like to say a few words.
Yes, sir.
On behalf of the board, we're proud of what you have done and what you have accomplished. And basically what he's accomplished has not been something that's been accomplished quickly. It's been over your entire career. It probably even started before your career. People watching you and the influence you had upon the community, as well as the student body. And I know that you are very practical in your decision making. You don't always say what everyone wants to hear, but you try to say what's best for the kids. And I think that is plays a big role in anyone at being able to receive an honor like this. And I appreciate what you do for kids. I appreciate what you do for our community and our school system. And really, Pitt County Schools, we are blessed to have someone on our faculty and working with our students like you. And I just think you're great, and I'm going to continue to let you fish in my pond. Benji's got a few words. He wants to swell your head. So
No, I just want to say for everyone here this evening and everyone watching by TV and anyone that knows anything about Rob Maloney, Rob is a winner and a leader. And he has been that for his entire life. He's a winner and a leader with his family. He's a winner and a leader with his students. He's a winner and a leader with his school. And he's a winner and a leader with his community. And there's no one that is more well-deserved, Ron, for this award. Charlie Adams is an icon. Rob Maloney is an icon. And we appreciate everything that he does for all of the schools in Pitt County, because I'm going to tell you something. He's a competitor when the game starts when the game ends. But after that, there's no one, Mr. Marr, that works any harder or any better for the betterment of Pitt County schools and its athletic program. Agreed? Than Rob Maloney. So again, welcome. And we don't need to get his picture without his wife in it too.
we won't make sure. And let me present this to you now. Pitt County Board of Education recognizes Rob for creating excellence in these. We appreciate this.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
There you go.
Mr. Marr, you come on too, because you're part of all of this. We appreciate everything you do. Come on, Ron.
Shannon, the only thing we request is that you put this on Facebook.
Like it, I'm sure.
Think Ben, you got a Facebook account?
And I think now we have a board recognition, board chair council.
We do, and I would just like to ask all the board members to take out their Civil Bell Award and stand. We're gonna do it from up here to save a little time. Everybody stand up and turn it this way. And I'll read it for the public to know what the board has been doing. This is for whole board training. And so you can get a picture of all of us. It's called the Civil Bell Award. Back on September the 5th, I represented the board in Bertie County, North Carolina, and we received the Civil Bell Award, and it reads, for whole board training, is presented to the members of the Pitt County Board of Education for training excellence and commitment during the 2017-18 NCSBA, North Carolina State Board Association, Academy Year of the North Carolina State Board Association Academy of School Boardsmanship, signed by Edwin Dunlap, Jr., PhD, Executive Director of the North Carolina School Board Association. So just stand, hold it like this, and congratulations, fellow board members. Next year, you are going to get a gold, right? All right. Okay, everybody look.
1, 2, 3. And one more.
Thank you.
We'll have media, who's gonna take pictures.
Okay, the media's going to get a picture? Great. So keep working, board. I won't be with you next year, but you all got to get the gold. Silver is great, but gold is better. Thank you.
Silver is what? Gold, yeah.
Silver is great, but gold is better.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we're ending our board spotlight and spotlight on schools and learning, teaching and learning with a special recognition. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Dr. Dwayne Stallings, the Executive Director of the Northwest RESA. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I am Dwayne Stallings. I'm a retired superintendent from Performance County, and since I retired, I've had the distinct honor of serving as the executive director of the Northeast RESA, which is the formal terms is Northeast Regional Education Service Alliance, but we go by Northeast RESA. We consist of 16 school districts, the southernmost being Pitt County, the northernmost being Weldon City, and to the east, Dare County. And those 15 of the 16 superintendents recently met and nominated Dr. Ethan Linker as the recipient of the Superintendent of the Year for Region 1 Northeast RESA for this school year. I've known Ethan a long time, and no matter what school district he's been in, he's been successful. And I think that's a tribute to his character and his determination to do what's best for children. So with no further ado, I'll ask Dr. Linker to come up. And as he's coming up, I know each of y'all join me in knowing for sure that he'll be standing on the stage at your conference in November with 7 other of his colleagues from across the state. But I've got a good idea. He's got a great chance of being the state superintendent of the year. Congratulations.
All right, you're no longer superintendent.
All right, here we go.
Yes.
Something like that.
Thank y'all so much for your time.
Thank you.
That's right.
Okay, next we have on our agenda public expression, but no one has signed up, so we will forego that until next meeting. Consent agenda, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved to approve the consent agenda
Okay.
as presented.
Okay, second, it's been moved by Caroline, second by Anna. All those in favor, raise your right hands. Okay, motion approved. Any? Okay. Next item is new business. Deborah Baggett, our Chief Finance Officer, will now share information about a bus driver pay
Well, I
increase.
could get rid of that. It's on the desktop. Let's see. Can we have a to skip over? Or do you want them? Slideshow right there. I'm sorry. Good evening.
Good evening.
We actually have two items for tonight. The first is approval for the bus driver pay increase. As you're aware, in previous years, the bus drivers would get the same increase as classified staff, and last year DPI changed, the legislation changed that, so the DPI gives an allotment to each LEA, and then we determine at a local level what that pay increase will be for the bus drivers. And the only requirement is that it be allocated on an equitable basis. So for 2018-19, the allocation that Pitt County Schools received was $61,866. And this equates to a 20-cent per hour increase of about 1.54%.
Thank you.
And our allocation last year was $239,578, and our bus drivers received an 89-cent per hour increase, which was significantly higher. It was 6.87%. So for 17-18, our average bus driver rate was $13.92, and that will increase to $14.12 per hour. And this is within the state minimum and maximums, and you have all that in your packet. So what we're requesting tonight is approval of the bus driver pay increase of 20 cents per hour.
Move to approve, Madam Chairman.
Okay, it's been moved by Mary and second by Worth, that we approve the bus driver's pay. All in favor, raise your right hands. Any opposes? None. Ayes have it.
Okay. And the second item that we have tonight is a resolution for an activity bus lease. This is a continuation of a previous master agreement. We have done this in the past. And so at this time, we're financing 3 school activity buses that were purchased from Carolina Thomas Bus Company at $89,269 each. It's a 4-year lease, and there'll be annual payments that'll start this month, so that way we can keep the interest down. So we're requesting approval for that resolution tonight.
I got, you go back over that again then, what you're,
Okay, we're purchasing 6 activity buses. At this point, we are financing 3. The other 3 have not been delivered yet. They're still in the process of being, I think they're finishing building them, is what Joey had said.
all right, that's fine, that's fine.
Right, so we've got 3 now, and then
3 are
probably
coming.
next month we'll have another 3. We needed to process it to get the payment to the vendor. The commissioners voted on this morning.
Move to approve the proposed activity bus lease as presented.
Second. Okay, it's been moved by Caroline, second by Anna, that we approve. All those in favor, let's show your right hands. Okay, any opposes? Ayes have it. Motion approved.
That's it.
Okay. Now we will have comments by superintendent and board members. Dr. Linker?
What about the 2 additional?
Oh, I'm sorry, we have 2 additional items. I am sorry, 4C. One is Karen Harrington, Director of Student Services, will discuss trauma-informed practices with our board members. Thank you, Karen, for bearing with us.
Okay.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members. I will try to keep this shorter than my presentation because you all have a copy of that. But just wanted to share some of the exciting work that the district started doing last year and is continuing to do into the next year surrounding the issue of ACEs, or adverse childhood experiences. And there is a handout also in your packet that just summarizes briefly what ACEs are. But basically, these are risk factors that we experience in childhood that could increase our stress reactions that later have an impact on our physical and also our mental and emotional health. And the study was originally done looking at adults who had some severe physical medical issues that were unexplained. And two researchers started doing a study in 1998, Kaiser Permanente study. And this study has been repeated over 200 times and found similar findings in that things that happen to us in our childhood then later can impact our physical and mental health. And so why are we studying those in schools? They are very common, and if you look on the back, it will let you can take your own ACE score, and unfortunately most of us have at least one, or if not more, of these risk factors. And of course our students are also experiencing those. They found that anyone experiencing 4 or more was really at risk for long-term physical and mental health issues. And it will also impair the brain functioning. And obviously for us in the schools, that is really important that we look at these students experiencing trauma and know how to address these students. So all of us experience stress at one time or another. There are things that are positive stress. Sometimes our job situations or the birth of a child, building a new home can be stressful, but it's positive. And then there's tolerable stress, but then there's also something called toxic stress. So if you think about a time where you're just really have a lot going on, maybe the hurricane could just think about we're all rushing out to get groceries, we're trying to figure out where our family's going to be, whether we should leave or not. And at that time, maybe you made some mistakes. You left something at home, you forgot to pick up your child at an activity, and you're running late to do that. And so those are times where you might experience toxic stress, and you know that those are not good. You want to try to eliminate those. Well, think about some of our students that are constantly living in environments where they're exposed to toxic stress. And unfortunately, our brain does not work well during those times. And so I'm not going to give you a lesson on psychology, but if you look on the left, that is a healthy functioning brain, and you see the areas of red are where the brain is really developed and working well. And at the top is the front of the brain, or our frontal lobe, which is our executive functioning, logic, and planning. And you see that works well in a healthy brain. But a student under toxic stress, you see that there's not many red areas. So some of those things that we take for granted in schools, they have difficulty with those things we call executive functioning. You also see in the temporal lobes, there's some things that are missing. There's no red. So again, emotions and social interactions are impaired for these students. And any of us who have lived through toxic stress would also have some of these same impacts. And so the researchers like to talk about the upstairs brain and the downstairs brain. So if we're functioning well, we're using our upstairs brain. But in times of that toxic stress or a lot of stress, we're using our downstairs brain. Again, think about those times where maybe you were in downstairs brain. Maybe you were short with your children or short with somebody at work. Again, made some errors. So those students that are in downstairs brain mode more often are not coming to school ready to learn. And so obviously we need to do something about this for our children. The great thing is for kids, if we can identify stress at an early age, we can give them protective factors and we can build their resilience. And really this is where it all started for us in the district, is looking at resilience. So again, why are we, when we're thinking about academics, looking at trauma? But we see the impacts of trauma in our students every day. More likely to suffer retentions, do poorly on tests, increased suspensions, increased absences from school. All of these factors are going to work against our students. And so we see the impacts across several areas. Learning and academic performance, certainly it can be impaired. Their communication skills for these students that have experienced a lot of trauma, cause and affect relationships, attention. We find in research that a lot of our students that are identified as ADHD, particularly in some areas, Baltimore City did a study, and that our black males that are identified as ADHD often maybe have had significant trauma, and really we're labeling them as ADHD, but that might not be the right label. And again, we're not labeling them, doctors are, but doctors and educational professionals need to be aware of these ACEs or trauma informed practices. And so we're trying to expand this work to not include just us as educators, but also working with our community partners. So again, regulating emotions. It's also going to impact classroom behavior. Again, that's why these students may sometimes be at risk for greater suspensions, but also there's students that are maybe going under the radar, withdrawal, perfectionists. So they're kind of, maybe going, we're not noticing them. And then also just our relationships. These students may have more of a hostile attribution bias. So again, if you say, good morning, they're yelling back at the teacher because they're thinking that they're being sarcastic or being gruff, or, they perceive everything as coming at them. Difficulty, again, just regulating emotions and behaviors. And so we have seen that there's a need to look at trauma and how it impacts the whole school. And some of you may have heard Oprah speak on this back in March on 60 Minutes. She did a special. Many communities throughout the country are moving towards something called being a trauma-informed communities. Milwaukee, Walla Walla, Washington, Philadelphia. In our own state, Asheville and Buncombe County have really done a lot of work around this issue. And so we find that if we don't address trauma, it's going to impact the whole school. Again, increased suspension rates, increased chronic absences, and lower test scores are some of the things that we see with our kids experiencing trauma. And so this work really ties together many initiatives that we're already doing in the district, things like putting in place school-based mental health, increasing our community partners. As we look at the portrait of a graduate, one of the things was looking at soft skills like our emotional regulation and what are those social skills that we need to have our students ready for. And also looking at making sure that our discipline practices really meet our children's needs. If they're misbehaving at school, maybe we need to get at the core. And so the idea around trauma-informed schools is that we're able to be more preventative and proactive and not reactive. So again, we're seeing this, you're hearing about ACEs, trauma-informed schools. It's kind of, that work is interchangeable. But again, if we can address these issues, we will see increases in our academics, but also our student self-esteem. We'll see decreases in some of the mental health symptoms, suspension rates, and chronic absences of our students. And so obviously we feel like this work is very important in what we're doing. I'll tell you, this journey really began last year, and I believe that the board was all invited to some screenings of a movie called Resilience. Paul Redford, Robert Redford's son, did this film. Some of you may have had the opportunity to see it. If you haven't, I can help get a screening of that for any groups that you would like to present that to. But it really came out of the work of a lady named Nadine Burke Harris in San Francisco, and she's a physician that said, wow, this research was done 20 years ago, and why are we not using it in the medical field? So we're really looking at the medical field picking up this work. We did receive a grant through the Pitt County Substance Abuse Coalition, and all of our principals received a copy of this book, and each counseling department received a copy of the book, Deepest Well. I'll tell you, I'm not a reader, and I read it in a weekend, and it's got some medical and some heavy stuff in there, but it's really applicable. So The Resilience movie really documents her journey. And since that time, in October of 2017, Dr. Lewis and his work in collaboration with AHEC, we were able to schedule several trainings that AHEC provided really free to the district, where our student services staff began getting trained on this ACEs and trauma-informed care. Additionally, our SROs this summer were invited by Greenville Police Department to participate in a one-day training on trauma-informed practices and how that relates to their work in the community. And the majority of our SROs were able to attend one of those two-day sessions. We also are working, AHEC, Karen Koch over at AHEC, got together a group of individuals, again, Jennifer Matthews at ECU, Health Department, DSS, and they have formed something called the Pitt County School Behavioral Health Alliance. And that group is working on these type of issues as well as bullying and some of the other things that impact our schools. And then our student services staff took that training that they've received over the last year and did a presentation for all of our administrators at the admin retreat. Again, they received a copy of the book, and then they have now presented that, or will by the end of October, to each school staff. It gets a 1-hour training on just the beginnings of making sure that we're trauma-informed. And some of our schools will go deeper with that. And then our next steps is that we actually are the recipients, along with Resources for Resilience out of Buncombe County, of one of the school safety grants of just over $52,000 to make sure that we continue this work in the district in the next year. And so that Buncombe County model, which at first, I'll tell you, even I, who usually am very, very positive, was a little bit skeptical about how that would work. Something that works in Asheville, will that work here in Greenville? But the strategies that they're using really are very teacher-friendly, easy to implement, and just some good strategies that will impact all of our students in a positive way, whether they've experienced significant trauma or not. And so we will begin that work to train at least 120 more of our student services staff, as well as teachers and their strategies, as well as some of our community partners like our school-based mental health, DSS, and others that we'll invite to those trainings that they will do for us. They also want to get a teacher along with that to model these practices in the school and do some research about how that's implemented. And then last, and I'd love for you all to just save these dates, March 14th and 15th, 2019, Eastern Area AHEC will be offering a 2-day conference. And this is not for school people, it's for our administrators, but also school board members, police, civic organizations, community members, churches, on something called Resilient Kids, and looking at getting our model of for our community. So again, not making this work just for the school system, but how can we all begin doing this work together? So that's all I have. Any questions?
I've got some back there, thank you. I have one. Oh, go ahead, Mary.
Madam Chair, are you working in collaboration with Dr. McNair?
With who?
On the whole child approach? Are y'all discussing this?
With Mr. Lassiter?
Yes.
Yes.
I submit now, I'm sorry. My mind was on Steve McNair. Okay. I don't know why I got the first part right. It's another senior moment, y'all. I just had a birthday. But,
that's okay. If he can channel some Mr. McNair, we'll take that.
But on the whole child,
yes.
And are you all discussing this in collaboration with our principal leaders and how to get these things done?
Yes,
in our buildings?
We're really excited about our collaboration with that. I don't know if there's anything specific.
Yes, ma'am.
We have
It's such a classy meeting going on. But yes, we did meet, I believe it was last week, and talked about that this is not just, one piece of a child's education, but it's also segues into the academics part. That how do we do this, but also make sure that we're focusing this too on improving their academic performance as well. So it's across the board that we'll continue to work together and partner.
Okay.
We're excited to join together and do that.
Okay, thank you for answering that for me. And then it says, things being implemented, what are we doing right now? You know, you said that certain things are being implemented.
Right.
To get this
So really at this stage, we're
within
really
this year.
just making it awareness. And so making sure that our schools and our teachers and all of our staff are aware that kids may have trauma reactions. What are those symptoms? And what are some simple things that you can do in the classroom to recognize those symptoms? And then as we have our staff trained in the next year with the grant, then they will be implementing more specific practices. Some of our administrators have actually are looking at this as part of some of their work in their schools specifically. It goes along with ESSA grant opportunities, you know, so some of them may be incorporating some of those practices and trialing them out right now as part of their NC STAR and their indicators and shaping their schools. But really this year is awareness, and then we'll build into the staff that gets trained will be continuing to do more and more training. And that's how other districts have done that. Buncombe County and some of the others have just
And now, 'cause
started.
I'm gonna read, you put a website up there, so I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna read that part.
Okay.
I feel hopeful about this when it comes to especially when it comes to discipline and the way our administrators delve out discipline.
Right.
Whether it's ISS or out of school suspension or, you know, what have you. Parental involvement in this is critical. So
Right.
we must find a way to incorporate them from the start as to what directions and what avenues, you know, that they can use as a tool to help us to implement this. And if we do a better job with getting them involved with this, I just think our numbers for discipline in school suspensions, out of school suspensions will drop dramatically. So I'm really excited about this.
Right, and I think having our teachers just have some strategies to do before they send a child out will definitely increase.
Well, they're going to have their woosah moments because they're going to be learning things through this when it comes to, you know, not only the children's attitude towards the teacher, but the teacher attitude towards that student on how to handle different kinds of behavior when the kids walk through the door. So I'm really looking for some positive things to come from this. That's it for me.
Caroline?
I personally would just like to acknowledge you and the whole student services team. I know last October when the teddy bear group brought in the Prevent Child Abuse North Carolina and had 2 showings of the Redford film on resilience. It was well attended here. I think it was over at ECU and maybe one other.
The Heart Center.
You all came in force, and this frankly is only a year later. And I'm incredibly proud of the fact that you and Dr. Lewis obviously continue to work on this and build a community coalition, because you're right, no one sector, and we even had this discussion, you can't put it all on the schools, you can't put it all on the pediatricians, you can't put it all on behavioral health, or economic, etc. It's got to be a community response, because it is the whole child, and the whole family, and the whole community. And that, I'm so incredibly excited to hear all the different, how far we've already come within our sector, within our public education sector. And I know that date came across my server last week, and I was so excited about it. So I'm like, fantastic. The health community here in Pitt County seems to have really gotten a hold of this.
I hope so.
Decided to move forward with it. We have very strong, both public health and pediatric and family practice community here in Pitt County. And I think we could really showcase the way for a lot of communities in the East. I'm really, really proud of us and the time I know that it has taken and is taking, the hard work, honestly. When you do this, you should probably have some counselors around whenever you do this with a group of people. It's a really powerful tool. And I'm just really proud that you guys have kept it going and so excited for what it holds, the potential for our students, and frankly, our classrooms, our administrators, folks that have to run in-school suspension. Really
I'll just
got
say,
nothing but good news.
the response from our administrators after the retreat was overwhelming. I could see it on social media. It was sparking ideas in their heads, and they've really reacted to it. They've shared stories of, hey, I had a kid and I saw his ACE experience this week. And also, I will just say, she has a great TED Talk if you want to get some, just a 15-minute, brief on it. Nadine Burke-Harris TED Talk is great to help you understand that. Thank you all for the opportunity to speak to you about it.
And I just wanted to add on to what the fellow board member said. I did attend a training as well, and it was great. And I also, it goes back like that author was saying, the way old school used to do it when children had problems. You didn't just suspend them or make them the bad person. You brought them in, you discussed, you try to get to the root of that problem, and it's all based on that. As I see it, that's a piece of it. And I'm happy, and I'm hoping the assistant principals that are responsible for suspending will take that training too, because it's not just the child, it's you as that adult. Right. Some of those experiences that you have had sometimes play negative on impacting young folk. Right. And so I think that it's good because we're all in it together. We are not perfect beings, and we've had some issues too as we grew up. And so we all learning together. Hopefully we'll make it a better Pitt County School District and this Eastern North Carolina community. So I think it's great what you're attempting to do and getting more people engaged, because it's definitely needed, because there's so much, so many kids that have so much talent, but they just beg and they just want, and by doing mentoring programs in Pitt County schools for 10 years prior to getting on this board, we found it out, because we got kids that the administrator said was just bad kids, and they were not bad. They just needed someone to talk to them, to hear what they had to say, tell them how you can do this better, and I've seen a lot of success rates. I've lived long enough to see some of those same kids that were, quote, the little bad girls, the little bad boys, today are successful adults, because someone took a little time, mentoring, nurturing, you letting them know that you're okay. We all been there. We've been children too. Right. No, none of us were perfect, but you need guidance, you need love, affection, and all that. That's all it is. It's just called, in these high-tech terms today, but it's just old school, loving and caring about children. That's what it is. Yes. Worth.
Thing I would say about this is a good program, and it's one more avenue that we can use to help. In-school suspension numbers and out-of-school suspension numbers, I want to increase and look better, but I want it also to be a result of better behavior. Not just that we've got pressure, we're putting pressure on principals, we're putting pressure on teachers, not to discipline our kids. When I have parents sit across from my table and tell me the reason why they're pulling their kids out of Pitt County schools is not because of the instruction, it's because of behavior, it's because of discipline. And this is one way I see that we can improve that discipline and at the same time improve those numbers.
Right.
But we also have got to be practical. There are sometimes some kids that have got to be suspended, they got to be put in in-school suspension, and something's got to be done. Because no parent wants to send their child to a school where they are constantly not being able to learn. And they're having someone in that class that's over and over and over disrupting that classroom. I'm not going to send my kids to a school like that, and no one else should have to. But I do commend the county for implementing a program that will play, hopefully, a big part in improving the overall behavior. That's what we're after.
Thank you. Right.
Is improvement of behavior, because that's going to help that child be a better citizen.
Exactly.
When they get out of school.
Exactly.
And using those resources, we got school social workers, psychologists, everybody else too, to help do the job. That's why we were trained to do that.
That's right. Thank you.
Yeah, so utilize the social workers more. Tell them I said so.
Okay. You know what? They'll think I accomplished something just that we got them mentioned twice in this meeting. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for that presentation. I think the last thing we have on the agenda is the board training. All of you have it before you, and congratulations, Dr. Linker, for nomination again, and so we're excited about that. And also we need to get a voting delegate for the conference. So I guess, Carol, you'll find out who's going and see who volunteered to be voting delegates to the North Carolina School Board Association meeting in November. Also, other training opportunities that is coming up. The annual conference at the Corey Center, that's what we were just speaking about. That is November the 12th through the 14th in Greensboro. And in March, we have our annual conference and exposition in Philadelphia. April, the annual conference and exposition in Philadelphia. Oh, that's the same time. It's overlapping March and April. It's a weekend conference. So early registration opens on October the 18th for the conference and exposition in Philadelphia. So please go, and this is how we get, especially going to the state, we get a goal next year. Y'all, we gotta get that goal. Work on it. It means you gotta go out of Greenville to learn something, because if you don't have it all here. So thank you so much. Now we'll go to our our comments from the superintendent and board members.
First, I just, Matt Johnson talked a little bit about what he was doing. If I can tell you, during the hurricane, I got up Saturday morning, started driving around schools, and all of his guys were at every school I went to. I went to about 30 of them the first day, and they were at every school. I went out on the next day, and they were at the schools again. And we decided we couldn't quite get back in school with students on Monday, went out and they were at the schools again getting everything ready. Didn't matter, they were doing everything you can imagine, from cutting trees to helping with water and textbooks and other things like that. And his group just did an amazing job for Pitt County schools during those couple, 3 or 4 days, and they're still having to do lots of things. If you've been in a school, if you've been to Ayden-Grifton High School in the last week or the last week and a half, there's more ceiling tiles missing than I think are actually in the ceiling at this point. But about right, Matt? Pretty close. Yeah. Same with Farmville and Rose. So a lot of ceiling tiles missing. I don't know if there was a school that didn't have ceiling tiles anywhere, but then I'd like to just another comment to our principals. You went out there were principals at all these schools. I sent an email out halfway through the day on Saturday after the storm came through and said, principals, go there and tell me what you're seeing. And now 8 of them been there. This is what I've seen. I've already sent the information to Matt Johnson. It's already been done. They didn't have to be asked to do it. They're just taking real leadership there. So Matt Johnson, our school administrator, just did an amazing job of getting the buildings ready, making sure they were safe. Didn't have any problems develop because of the hurricane. So they did a great job. Also wanted just a quick thanks to all of our students from South Central High School out there in the back. Appreciate you being here today. All of you, raise your hands back there. Look at all of them. Good job. We always have students from Miss Breeze's class show up. We certainly appreciate that. Nice to have students here and seeing what's going on. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. So where should we start this time? We'll start with Anna this time.
I'm always last,
right.
Everybody's already taken everything I've had to say. And you already started. The presentation that we got from Matt, I think we'd all agree, well, at least for me, it was mind-boggling, just in terms of the number of moving parts that go into getting our schools protected and then back in order, and the pace at which it's been done is remarkable. So thank you very much. That's completely why we were able to get back in our schools as quickly as we were and not lose more days than we needed to. So I really appreciate that. Karen, I really appreciate your efforts, on behalf of informing the community and informing our teachers and administrators. And I can already see the impact of that information being utilized. We have fabulous administrators and teachers who are eager to reach every child and to understand what makes each child tick. So thank you for those efforts. And then I'll also echo what Dr. Linker said about gratitude for having students here. I know some of what we go over is not super exciting, but we appreciate you being here and hope that maybe it'll spark something within some of you that'll make you maybe want to serve your community and your schools one day in this capacity as well. So we're really glad you're here.
Thank you. Ms. Williams? Next.
Okay. I'd also like to give thanks to Matt and our facility services group. Got a chance to speak to Dr. Lincoln during the storm and make sure everything was going well. And I know that it takes what it takes to keep our schools safe and secure, also our facilities safe and secure, and get them back up running like you did, Matt. So thank you and your team. Thank you to our leadership team. Got very informative and very important information tonight, and I look forward to talking with some of you all later on. But I also want us to remember that, you know, even though the sun is shining and we have these beautiful days, the water is still with us. It is still with a lot of our students. I had an opportunity to do food distribution this time and outreach work, not only in this county but other counties as well. We must be reminded, you know, or we shouldn't have to be reminded that patience is going to be the task and the strength that's going to take these kids through. I'm hoping that teachers recognize and administrators recognize that even though we did not have a lot of physical damage in Pitt County, our kids were just traumatized 2 years ago with Matthew, and some of them have not even recovered as of today. And so now they have this to deal with. So I'm asking for patience, you know, with our teachers and administrators and, you know, to kind of listen because, you know, kids are honestly still displaced throughout this county from Matthew, and families are going through right now. So we must be mindful of those things and to keep them in prayer because it is a very long process. It is a process that they must go through. And thank all our students. Hey, Mary, I see you back there. Mary Robertson, our former NCAE president. And thank you, students, for coming, you know, to see us tonight.
Betsy?
Okay, Dr. Linker, I expect a win on the stage in November. So I think Melinda whispered when you were up there, she said, if he doesn't win, we're storming the stage. So, we're going to bring the win, just kidding. But we are very proud of you, and you represent us well. I just wanted to quickly say that I think that being that bridge between Pitt County schools and the communities that we represent is probably one of the most important jobs that I feel like I have on this board. And as such, I was very pleased when a member of my community reached out and extended an invitation for our board to consider going out at some frequency, once a year, twice a year, and taking our board meetings into our communities. Mm-hmm. And apparently there is precedent for it. It occurred at some point when Mark Owens was on the Board of Education. So, long time. Dark ages. But just kidding, Mark. Anyway, I would just like for our board, and of course we will, you know, the board will switch up at, you know, some point, well, after the election in November, in some manner that is yet time will tell. But I would like for us to consider if that's something that we would be interested in doing. I think it is a good opportunity for us to take what we do out into our communities so that the people that we serve can maybe have more of a hand or a more understanding into the process that we have and take some ownership and become more involved as well. So if we could, Madam Chair, add that to as a discussion item on a board work session, I would appreciate that.
Love to. Okay, Linda?
Well, you know, I was kind of, I won't say dreading, but I'm coming into the meeting tonight after having the storm and all. And I've got to tell you that this meeting today has been such a feel-good meeting with so many positive things being discussed, from the media center to Dr. Linker, and yes, we will storm the stage if we don't win. And just all those that were recognized tonight for the accomplishments that they had. To Karen Harrington, I'm so excited about ACEs. I think that is spot on. There are so many students in our school that are labeled, and maybe they maybe they should have a label, but it's not the one they have. And we need to know what that true label is so we can help them. And I really think that this program is going to see a change. It'll take time and we need to be patient, but I'm very, very excited about it. And also, I guess lastly, in regards to the hurricane, just kudos to all those in Pitt County Schools that were out there, Matt and his team. I was so impressed with getting updates with what was going on, to knowing that there were principals looking, to knowing that our schools were actually back in session so quickly compared to, unfortunately, the surrounding counties. And I think we need to keep those school boards and schools that surround us in our thoughts and prayers. And, you know, we as Pitt County, we're so fortunate compared to what is going on there. And I will say, yesterday, I had the privilege of going to Harker's Island with early response disaster team and worked on a house down there all day yesterday. And I say privilege because it was a privilege to go down there and help this lady with her home. And so I challenge everybody to find something in the community, whether Pitt County or outside of, even if it's just a matter of taking some food to a food bank, to do that.
Caroline?
Thank you. I'll just echo what folks have said about the amazing work that our facility services team did and is continuing to do both before, during, and after the storm. But also like a shout out to Holly Hill, Greenville Baptist Church, and Landmark Baptist Church. Because if they hadn't stepped up, our students would not have been able to go back. It allowed us to move students from the school, the middle schools where they were being housed, not students, evacuees, people being protected from the storm, being sheltered, into non-schools, into other community partners. That's something that and I had talked about after the last storm, because it gets to a point where you've got 1 or 2 schools worth of kids and everybody else can go back. And the reason they can't go back is because community members are being sheltered in our schools. So a lot of credit goes to you, Matt, and you, Dr. Linker, for negotiating and working with our disaster preparedness and response teams for thinking about that early so that our kids did get back quickly and didn't lose more instructional time than they had to. So very proud of that, and thank you for being proactive about that. Also wanted to I love, as I already said, I love the work that we're doing on ACEs and developing a community of resilience and supporting that. I've seen in our schools, I've seen a shift over the past several years. Instead of asking what's wrong with you, why are you acting like that, is what's happened to you, and said in a loving and understanding way. That's a huge shift. And then lastly, Dr. Linker and I were fortunate today to do part of the strategic planning work, Portrait of a Graduate, with a community group that we're a member of, and I'm doing again tomorrow night, the CMFs, and invite anybody here in the community who's interested in being part of that strategic planning. Please speak to one of your board members about that. We'd be happy to come do it with you.
Okay. Now we'll start with Benji.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Tonight has been a night filled with leadership, and we've recognized it in so many different kinds of ways, and I am just very, very excited about that. First of all, Dr. Linker, again, congratulations on the nomination for Superintendent of the Year. Everybody's beginning to recognize what we know. And that's your leadership ability.
What were they so slow for?
I don't know. That's don't laugh too much, you take my time with it. But I want to say this, Dr. Linker. One of the leadership demonstrations that you made was with working with the utilities and making sure that they understood completely how important and vital and critical it was to get the lights turned back on, particularly in the Grifton and the Grimesland area. And y'all, I tell you what, we're a blessed county. We're blessed in so many ways. One of those ways, and I mentioned in a work session, was the response of Greenville Utilities. They did a yeoman's job getting these lights turned back on when they were off. we've got some areas in the county that are not serviced by Greenville Utilities. And those areas, two of them were Grifton and Grime. And one of the reasons why we got those lights turned on as quick as we did for the whole community was because of the leadership of people like Dr. Linker, Matt Johnson, and those that were surrounded with that to continue to ring their bell to make certain that that happens. So I want to recognize that. The second thing, very quickly, is again, thanks to Rob Maloney for the leadership that he demonstrates. And last but not least, I want to send my sympathy out to Reed Potts, assistant principal at D.H. Conley High School, for the loss of his mother, Robin Potts, who I taught with at Washington High School many years ago. Tremendous lady, a tremendous family, and I will keep that family in my prayers.
Robert?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First thing I want to say is I echo everything, echo. Second thing is I really don't know where to start because there are so many. But I'll start with Dr. Linker. Congratulations. Congratulations, Dr. Linker, and on your nomination. And the next thing I would say, congratulations on a team that you have built. What you see here tonight is effort that you've made in the past to get us to where we are. So I say congratulations. My expectation of Pitt County School is great. And from what I've heard here tonight, you are meeting that with me. Of course, there's a lot that we need to do, and we're going to do that. And I would say stay the course. There were so many things. Even the day that I was at Grifton, where we had lunch with kids who the school was out, but somebody invented something where school buses would go pick up kids, not in school that day, but bring them for lunch and to take them back. Hurricane Florence was devastating to a lot of people in North Carolina, and to a lesser extent than what in Pitt County. But from the time it was mentioned, it was aimed directly at us. There are so many acts of kindness by so many people. I can't begin to name all the people who did whatever. But I'll say thank you, Pitt County Schools. I mean, we just heard tonight under the spotlight on teaching on all the schools and what they've done. And thank you for capturing that and bringing it here for us to witness tonight. There was one other school that I didn't hear, again, that was Ridgewood. And Ridgewood is partnering with a school in Jones County and they, after this hurricane relief. So thank you.
Okay, Ward.
Yeah, I would like to say, one decision that was made during this episode with Florence was starting school back without all of our schools being able to start it at one time.
Yeah.
And I think that was a wise decision for the system. And I know it was difficult. I know I got calls, I know we all, but I think we can learn from some of the questions we got from parents to help us better maybe communicate things. But, Sheena Caden, she did a tremendous job in trying to help with parents calling and not being able to have baths or being in shelters or whatever, to let them know first that those days were not going to necessarily be held against those students. We would work with them. The teachers are going to help them make up the work. And for Kevin and all that he did, and also at G.R. Whitfield. But I think that was a good decision. We normally don't make decisions like that, and hopefully we won't have to do that again. But that was wise. I do think it's important that you just hear about all the grants that Pitt County Schools receiving, and to get a grant, somebody's got to be doing some footwork, and it takes a lot of behind-the-scenes work to be able to get grants nowadays because some of them are so competitive. And we're hearing what our system is doing, and we're getting a lot of grants. And I think another highlight of the night was looking out there and seeing Mr. Lassiter not to be able to get out of his chair. Anyone
That's a
with
good
an EPS title, you can't get up always. It's tough, because I've been in that spot before.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. You're right.
Okay, last but not least, I just want to say ditto to all the great things that's been said tonight. And just want to add on that I am been working also with my youth groups, and we're getting ready to support some of the efforts in school, possibly out of county, for community service, especially the Pitt County 4-H All-Stars. We'll be doing that. Also, I'll be on at a meeting tomorrow. Senator Davis has called a community meeting to just sort of see where some needs are in this area or out of county. And I have a national call tomorrow night. I'm a member of the National Association of Black Social Workers, and every time there's a storm, we collaborate. So the North Carolina chapters will be meeting by phone tomorrow to see where we need to go in North Carolina. So I will be sharing what I know, and others will too. So we will be making an impact. And for instance, when the floods of '99, we happened to have our national conference in Charlotte. So 2 bus loads of National Black Social Workers came to Princeville and spent the whole day and cleaned out the houses, the yards, and fed them. We did all of that and brought money from across the nation. So we do a big impact kind of a thing. So we will be working wherever the group decides, we will be working in those areas. Also on my youth group, Pitt County All-Stars, they did participate in the fair, and the fair was a great thing to do with all this stress that young people had, and we won 2nd place. Yes. So they're going to be doing community service. And also, I'd like to say the youth that are there, if any of you are juniors, we would love for you to apply for our NC A&T program. And that is a program to go to A&T this summer to learn about careers in agriculture. It's a great free experience, 1 week, paid for by North Carolina Farm Bureau. And I've been doing this work for over 20 years. And so right before our last meeting, we had 14 kids in the paper, Della Reflector's paper, of the kids that went to IFL. Well, I recruited all those kids with help, except one. So they were in the newspaper, so they went and had a great time. So it's a juniors, rising seniors, in your junior year, spending a week on the college campus to learn about those great careers. So call me, and we send information to all the principals throughout Pitt County schools. So we would love for you all to get kids out for this one. Also, on November the 17th, we will be having a HBCU college fair. It will be at Pitt Community College, 9 to 12 a.m. And it's open to middle school students through junior college, because we want to expose young people early about going to college and meet the college recruiters. And if you come as a senior, you can get your waiver of your admissions fee. So that's what's coming up on November the 17th. And on October the 17th, the HBCU group here in Pitt County will be working together to do a voter education, making sure we get people out to vote, starting October the 17th, early voting through Election Day. And we also will be doing some help in some of the needy communities. So we're making our college fairs and our other programs also a day to give back as well. So those are my things for tonight. And thank you very much for coming out tonight and enjoying our meeting. And we challenge you out there that are listening to do something to help somebody. There's lots of needs. No matter what age you are, if you're youth, you can do something to help other youth. And matter of fact, I'm collecting books to help in one of my projects to send to wherever we decide we're going, because if you lost everything, we want to entertain the young people with reading and enjoying and all of that as well. Thank you. So could we have a motion for?
Motion to adjourn.
To adjourn. Robert? Everybody just want to stay? Okay. Caroline, second. All those in favor? Raise your right hand. Any opposed? Ayes have it. We will adjourn the meeting. Thank you all.